I was just grabbing cereal at Kroger when a woman slapped my pregnant wife, Sarah, for brushing against her cart, unleashing a chain of events that left everyone stunned. It was a typical Saturday morning at 10:00 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio, and the Kroger on High Street was buzzing with life. The aisles were a maze of shoppers weaving through carts piled high with groceries. The air hummed with the clatter of metal baskets, the squeak of wheels, and the occasional overhead announcement, "Clean up on aisle 5." Security cameras blinked from the ceiling, their red lights barely noticeable above the fluorescent glow. "Customer service" sign swayed gently over the checkout area, promising order in the chaos. John, a 50-year-old accountant with a steady hand and a protective streak, pushed a half-full cart down the cereal aisle. His wire-rimmed glasses sat low on his nose as he scanned the shelves for his favorite brand flakes. Beside him was Sarah, his 32-year-old wife, 7 months pregnant and radiant despite the weight of her belly. Her navy maternity dress swished as she moved, her dark hair pulled into a loose ponytail. She stretched on her tiptoes, reaching for a box of Honey Nut Cheerios on a high shelf, her fingers grazing the colorful cardboard. Across the aisle, a woman named Karen maneuvered her cart with the precision of a drill sergeant. At 45, she had the polished look of someone who spent her mornings in yoga class and her afternoons refreshing her social media. Her blonde hair was swept into a tight bun, and her designer jacket hung over yoga pants that screamed expense. Her cart brimmed with kale, kombucha, and organic avocados, but her sharp eyes darted between the shelves and her phone, where she scrolled with impatient swipes. Her lips pursed, as if the world owed her a faster checkout line. The cereal aisle was tight, with carts jostling for space. Sarah, focused on her Cheerios, leaned forward, her arm brushing lightly against Karen's cart as she stretched. The contact was fleeting, a nudge so minor it barely rattled the kombucha bottles. But Karen, startled from her phone, whipped around like a cobra. Her eyes narrowed on Sarah, who was still oblivious, fingers curling around the cereal box. "Keep your hands off my cart." Karen's voice sliced through the aisle, shrill and accusing. Before anyone could blink, her hand shot out, slapping Sarah's left cheek with a crack that echoed off the shelves. The Cheerios box slipped from Sarah's grip, hitting the floor with a dull thud. Sarah stumbled back, her right hand flying to her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. The maternity dress swayed as she caught her balance, her breath hitching. John, a few feet away, froze mid-reach for his bran flakes. The box he'd been holding slipped from his fingers, landing beside Sarah's Cheerios. His heart lurched as he processed the scene: his pregnant wife, red-cheeked and stunned, and this stranger glaring like she'd caught a thief. John rushed to Sarah's side, his cart abandoned in the aisle. "Sarah, are you okay?" His voice was steady but laced with fury as he placed a hand on her shoulder, his eyes darting to Karen. Shoppers nearby paused, their carts squeaking to a halt. A mother with a toddler in her cart gasped, and an older man in a flannel shirt muttered, "What the hell was that?" Karen stood her ground, clutching her phone like a shield. Her designer jacket gleamed under the lights, but her face was a mask of indignation. "She touched my cart," she snapped, as if that explained everything. Her voice carried the weight of someone used to getting her way, the kind of customer who'd demand to speak to the manager over a bruised apple. John's jaw tightened. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, but Sarah's trembling hand on his arm kept him grounded. The security cameras overhead whirred softly, capturing every moment. The cereal boxes on the floor, Sarah's flushed cheek, Karen's defiant stance. The aisle felt smaller now, the air thick with tension as more shoppers turned to stare. Have you ever seen someone lose it over something so trivial in a store? Share your wildest grocery store stories in the comments and guess how Karen's day ended. Karen's slap echoed, but her next move was even more outrageous. The cereal aisle at Kroger was frozen in the wake of the incident, the air heavy with stunned silence. Sarah stood clutching her left cheek with her right hand, the sting still radiating across her skin. Her navy maternity dress swayed slightly as she stepped back, her other hand instinctively resting on her pregnant belly. Her wide eyes met John's, searching for reassurance. She gripped his arm, her fingers trembling but her resolve unbroken. She was shaken, not broken. John's heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat of anger and protectiveness. He positioned himself between Sarah and Karen, his broad shoulders a shield. "What do you think you're doing?" he demanded, his voice low but sharp, cutting through the murmurs of nearby shoppers. His abandoned cart sat a few feet away, its wheels still, next to the scattered boxes of Cheerios and bran flakes on the floor. Karen, unfazed, gripped the handle of her cart like a lifeline. Her designer jacket caught the fluorescent light, and her blonde bun remained pristine, but her face twisted with righteous fury. "She was trying to steal from my cart," she declared, her voice climbing an octave. She waved her phone in the air, the screen still glowing from her interrupted scroll. That slap was self-defense. "I'm calling my lawyer." Her words were absurd, a flimsy excuse that hung in the air like a bad joke. Shoppers around them stirred, their carts forming a loose semicircle. A retiree named Bill, his flannel shirt tucked neatly into his jeans, stepped forward, his bushy eyebrows furrowed. "That's no way to treat a pregnant lady," he called out, his voice gruff with disapproval. A young woman pushing a stroller pulled out her phone, her thumb already tapping to record the scene. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Did you see that? She hit her," as the security cameras overhead continued their silent vigil. Near the end of the aisle, a store employee named Lisa, her Kroger apron slightly askew, fumbled with her walkie-talkie. "Manager to aisle 7 now," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Her dark ponytail bounced as she glanced at Sarah, her expression a mix of concern and disbelief. The walkie-talkie crackled in response, promising the manager's arrival. Karen's eyes darted to the growing crowd, her grip on her cart tightening. "You all saw her touch my stuff," she insisted, doubling down. Her yoga pants stretched as she shifted her weight, her posture defiant. But the shoppers weren't buying it. A man in a baseball cap shook his head, muttering to his wife, and a teenage girl filming on her phone giggled, whispering, "This lady's unhinged." John kept his focus on Sarah, his hand gently squeezing her shoulder. "You okay, honey?" he asked again, softer this time. Sarah nodded, her hand still on her cheek, the red mark fading but the shock lingering. "I'm fine," she whispered, her voice steadying. She straightened, her maternity dress smoothing over her belly, and met Karen's glare with a quiet strength. The tension in the aisle was palpable, like a storm about to break. Karen's rant was heating up, but the store manager was about to change the game. The manager's arrival turned Karen's tantrum into a public spectacle. The cereal aisle at Kroger was now a stage, the crowd swelling as shoppers craned their necks to witness the drama. John stood protectively beside Sarah, whose navy maternity dress clung softly to her pregnant frame. Her right hand no longer cupped her cheek, but the faint red mark lingered, a quiet testament to Karen's outburst. Their cart, still abandoned near the spilled Cheerios and bran flakes, sat under the watchful gaze of the security cameras overhead. Mr. Smith, the 55-year-old store manager, strode into the aisle, his Kroger polo crisp and his expression calm but authoritative. His salt and pepper hair gleamed under the fluorescent lights as he surveyed the scene. Sarah's visible pregnancy, John's tense posture, and Karen, pacing beside her cart like a caged animal. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice steady, directing his question to John and Sarah. John stepped forward, his accountant's precision guiding his words. "This woman slapped my wife for accidentally touching her cart," he said, gesturing to Karen, whose designer jacket seemed out of place in the chaos. "Sarah's 7 months pregnant. We just want to know why." His finger pointed upward to the security cameras. "The footage will show everything." Karen, her blonde bun still immaculate, spun toward Mr. Smith, her cart rattling as she shoved it forward. "She assaulted my cart," she shrieked, her voice piercing the murmurs of the crowd. I want her banned from this store. And him. She jabbed a manicured finger at John.
He's ganging up on me.
I'll sue Kroger for negligence. Her phone, still clutched in her other hand, waved wildly, as if her lawyer was on speed dial. The absurdity of her claims drew snickers from the crowd. Bill, the retiree in flannel, shook his head. Lady, you're the one who hit her, he said, his gravelly voice carrying weight. Other shoppers nodded, their phones still recording. Lisa, the employee with the walkie-talkie, hovered nearby, her apron slightly crumpled. I can pull the footage, Mr. Smith, she offered, her tone professional but edged with disdain for Karen. The crowd grew thicker, shoppers spilling in from adjacent aisles. A young mother named Jenny, her toddler asleep in a stroller, held her phone steady, streaming the scene to her social media. This is wild, she whispered to a nearby shopper, her video already racking up views. The murmurs turned to open disapproval. She's out of her mind. As Karen's voice climbed higher, her pacing more frantic. Her yoga pants swished with each step, her cart a barricade between her and the growing hostility. John kept his cool, his arm around Sarah, who stood tall despite the ordeal. We're not the problem here, he said to Mr. Smith, his voice measured. Check the cameras. Ask the witnesses. Bill and a few others chimed in, corroborating his story. Saw it all, said a woman in a Buckeyes hoodie. She slapped her out of nowhere. Mr. Smith nodded, his eyes flicking to the security cameras. We'll review the footage, he said, then turned to Karen. Ma'am, please calm down and explain your side. But Karen's rant only intensified, her accusations spiraling into nonsense. This store's a disgrace, she snapped, her face flushed. You're all in on it. The tension crackled, the cereal aisle now a pressure cooker of outrage and amusement. Karen thought she was in control, but the police were about to crash her party. When the police stepped in, Karen's bravado collapsed like a house of cards. The cereal aisle at Kroger was now a full-blown spectacle, the crowd buzzing with anticipation as two police officers, Davis and Lee, arrived at 10:25 a.m. Their radios crackled softly and their polished badges gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Mr. Smith, the store manager, greeted them with a nod, his Kroger polo a stark contrast to the chaos. Sarah stood beside John, her navy maternity dress swaying slightly, the faint red mark on her cheek still visible. Their cart remained abandoned near the scattered cereal boxes, under the steady watch of the security cameras. Officer Davis, a broad-shouldered man with a calm demeanor, approached John and Sarah first. Can you tell us what happened? He asked, his notebook ready. John recounted the incident with measured clarity, Sarah's accidental brush against Karen's cart, the sudden slap, and Karen's absurd accusations. Sarah nodded, her hand resting on her pregnant belly, her voice steady as she confirmed the details. Bill, the flannel-clad retiree, stepped forward, his gravelly voice firm. I saw it all. That woman hit her for no reason. Lisa, the employee with the walkie-talkie, had retrieved the security footage and handed a tablet to Officer Lee, a younger officer with sharp eyes. The video played silently, crystal clear, Sarah reaching for Cheerios, her arm grazing Karen's cart, and Karen's hand striking Sarah's cheek with deliberate force. The crowd leaned in, some craning to catch a glimpse as Karen's face paled. Karen, still clutching her cart's handle, her designer jacket slightly askew, tried to interrupt. It was a reflex, she blurted, her blonde bun loosening from her frantic pacing. She touched my stuff. I was protecting myself. Her yoga pants swished as she gestured wildly, her phone now tucked into her purse, which sat atop her groceries. But the footage left no room for debate, and the crowd's murmurs turned to scoffs. Officer Davis turned to Karen, his expression unyielding. Mom, the footage shows you striking a pregnant woman unprovoked. In Ohio, assaulting a pregnant woman can be charged as aggravated assault, a felony under state law, with up to 7 years in prison if intent is proven. His words landed like a gavel, and Karen's bravado crumbled. Her hands trembled as she clutched her cart, her voice shrinking. Her reflex, I swear, please, don't do this. Officer Lee stepped forward, pulling out handcuffs. "You're under arrest for assault," he said, his tone matter of fact. Karen's eyes widened, her purse slipping from her grasp as she backed against her cart.
No, wait! I didn't mean it!
She pleaded, but the officers were unmoved. Davis gently guided her hands behind her back, the cuffs clicking shut. Mr. Smith stepped in, retrieving Karen's purse and cart. "I'll secure these at the customer service desk for a relative to pick up," he said, his voice professional but firm. The crowd erupted in cheers, some clapping as Karen was led toward the store's exit, her yoga pants and designer jacket now a pitiful contrast to her defeat. A young mother in the crowd shouted, "That's what you get," while Jenny, still filming, captured every moment. Sarah exhaled, her shoulders relaxing as John squeezed her hand. "You sure you're okay?" he asked, his eyes searching hers. She nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "I'm fine, really." John insisted on a paramedic, and Mr. Smith radioed for one. A paramedic arrived minutes later, checking Sarah's vitals and confirming that she and the baby were unharmed. John's relief was palpable, his hand never leaving Sarah's. The cereal aisle, still littered with Cheerios and bran flakes, felt quieter now, the tension easing under the hum of the overhead lights. Karen's arrest was dramatic, but her downfall was just beginning. Karen's slap didn't just shock the store, it set the internet ablaze. Days after the incident, the cereal aisle at Kroger on High Street in Columbus, Ohio, was back to its usual hum, but the story of Karen's outburst was far from over. Jenny's video, capturing the slap and Karen's arrest, exploded on X under hashtags like #PayGroceryKaren and #FevJusticeForSarah. By Monday it had racked up thousands of views, with users sharing their own tales of entitled shoppers and praising Sarah's composure. Local news stations picked up the story, interviewing John and Sarah outside their modest home. Sarah, still in her Navy maternity dress for one interview, spoke calmly, her hand on her 7-month pregnant belly. "We just wanted cereal," she said with a small laugh, "but I'm grateful for everyone's support." The community rallied around the couple. Shoppers flooded the Kroger, leaving handwritten notes at the customer service desk for John and Sarah. Messages of encouragement and congratulations on their upcoming baby. A local bakery, touched by the story, sent the couple a gift card for a month's worth of pastries, delivered with a note, "For Sarah, a sweet mom-to-be." A community group launched a fundraiser for prenatal care, raising enough to cover Sarah's remaining appointments. Sarah, reading the notes at home, felt a warmth that eased the memory of that stinging slap. Meanwhile, Karen's world unraveled. Identified as a local real estate agent through the viral video, she faced a firestorm of public shaming. Her employer, a prominent Columbus firm, terminated her contract, citing irreparable damage to their reputation. Karen's ex-posts, where she tried to defend herself with claims of self-defense, were mercilessly mocked, earning her the moniker "Cart Slap Karen." Screenshots of her deleted posts circulated, each one digging her deeper into infamy. Her family, humiliated by the attention, distanced themselves, leaving her to face the fallout alone. Her purse, secured by Mr. Smith at Kroger's customer service desk, was retrieved by a cousin through police channels, a quiet end to her abandoned cart of kale and kombucha. Legally, Karen's troubles mounted. Prosecutors charged her with felony aggravated assault, citing Sarah's pregnancy as an aggravating factor under Ohio law. The security footage, showing Karen's unprovoked slap, left little room for defense. Kroger issued a lifetime ban, barring her from all their stores, a decision announced in a press release that reaffirmed their commitment to customer safety. The cereal aisle incident, now a local legend, was referenced in every report, with news anchors noting Sarah's maternity dress and the scattered Cheerios as vivid details. John and Sarah, bolstered by the outpouring of support, found strength in the chaos. At home, John sorted through the notes and gift cards, his accountant's precision giving way to quiet awe. "This is incredible," he said, passing Sarah a card from a stranger wishing their baby well. Sarah, her cheek long-healed, smiled as she folded her maternity dress for the laundry. The community's embrace felt like a shield protecting their growing family from the shadow of that Saturday morning. Karen's shame was spreading, but justice was about to seal her fate. Karen learned the hard way. Entitlement crumbles under the weight of justice. Weeks after the cereal aisle showdown at Kroger in Columbus, Ohio, the saga reached its conclusion in a courtroom. Karen, her blonde bun replaced by a subdued ponytail and her designer jacket swapped for a plain blazer, stood before a judge. To avoid a trial and the risk of a harsher penalty, she pleaded guilty to felony aggravated assault, acknowledging the unprovoked slap against Sarah, a pregnant woman. The judge handed down a $5,000 fine, 12 months of probation, and 100 hours of community service at a local women's shelter. A fitting irony for someone who'd lashed out at a vulnerable mother-to-be. Kroger's lifetime ban remained in place, and Karen's reputation, shredded by the viral #FiGroceryKaren hashtag, showed no signs of recovery. Her days as a real estate agent were over, her name now synonymous with cart slap Karen in local lore. John and Sarah, meanwhile, thrived in the glow of community support. Their home was filled with donated baby clothes, gift cards, and notes from strangers, all sparked by the fundraiser and news coverage of the incident. Sarah, now in her 8th month, resumed shopping at Kroger, her navy maternity dress swapped for a new one in soft green. She navigated the cereal aisle with confidence, occasionally catching warm smiles from shoppers who recognized her from the news. John, ever protective, pushed their cart, his accountant's calm bolstered by the knowledge that their baby would arrive in a world of kindness. The couple's story, amplified by ex-posts and local TV, inspired others to share tales of standing up to bullies, reinforcing their hope for their child's future. Kroger, too, emerged stronger. The store implemented mandatory staff training on de-escalating aggressive customer behavior, with Lisa, the walkie-talkie wielding employee, helping lead the sessions. Smith, the manager, oversaw a donation to a Columbus pregnancy support charity, earning the store praise for turning a scandal into a force for good. The security cameras, which had captured Karen's slap, now symbolized vigilance, a reminder that accountability was always watching. The story's moral resonated deeply. Protecting the vulnerable matters, and a united community can dismantle even the most brazen entitlement. Sarah's quiet strength, John's steadfast support, and the crowd's outrage, amplified by Bill's gruff defense and Jenny's viral video, proved that justice thrives when people stand together. The cereal aisle, once a stage for Karen's outburst, became a symbol of fairness, family, and resilience. Loved this story of justice and community spirit? Hit that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to ring the bell for more inspiring tales! In a store where everyone deserves respect, one Karen's outburst only strengthened our resolve.